On the 24th of December 1999, Air India Flight 814 took off from Kathmandu International Airport in Nepal and was headed for the Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi, India. The flight seemed to be a normal routine flight, but little did the passengers and the crew members know this would be an absolute nightmare for them. This was India's biggest plane hijacking. The plane takes off from Kathmandu International Airport at approximately 4 p.m. and is headed to land in New Delhi at approximately 6 p.m. About 40 minutes into the flight, 5 men stand up from their seats. Some of them rush into the cockpit while the others declare that they have hijacked the plane. Panic sets among the passengers and everyone doesn't know what was about to happen. The hijackers' demands were simple. They demanded the Indian authorities for $200 million and the release of some terrorists from jail in exchange for the hostages being held in the aircraft. Now it was clear that the people hijacking the plane were Pakistani nationalists. This was no ordinary hijacking. Prior to this incident, India and Pakistan experienced high tensions, primarily centered around the long-standing Kashmir conflict. The two countries had engaged in armed conflicts, and the issue of Kashmir, a region claimed by both nations, remained a significant point of the contention. This hijacking was indeed the result of the geopolitical tensions between the two nations. Let us go back to the story now. The hijackers ordered the captain of the plane to fly west. See, the hijackers intended to land the plane in Pakistan, specifically at Pakistan's Lahore International Airport. The pilots contacted the Pakistani authorities in Lahore and asked for the permission to land the plane in Lahore. To everyone's surprise, the authorities sitting in Lahore denied the request. The fuel in the plane was very low. It had the fuel for just a trip from Kathmandu to Delhi. It wasn't supposed to fly all the way to Lahore. The plane was now dangerously low on fuel. The pilots somehow convinced the hijackers to land the plane in Amritsar as a pit stop for refueling. The news about the plane hijacking was all over the country. Everyone was very shocked. The families of the hostages on Flight 814 displayed a range of emotions, including fear, anxiety, desperation, and anger. They did not know about the fate of their loved ones, and neither did they know if the government could save the hostages. At around 6:40 p.m., the plane lands in Amritsar and the pilots get ready to refuel the aircraft. This is what the hijackers feared the most. They did not want an Indian aircraft to land in India, as this would give the Indian authorities an upper hand. But what happened was quite the opposite. The authorities on the ground wanted to delay the refueling and come up with a plan to rescue the hostages. Captain Mr. J.V. Sharan urges the authorities to refuel the aircraft quickly, as the hijackers were getting angry and were threatening to attack the passengers. 20 minutes since the plane landed have passed by and no refueling was initiated. The hijackers get impatient and actually attack a person. The person is severely injured. The captain again urges the authorities to initiate refueling. 40 minutes have passed since the landing. The authorities finally come up with a plan. They were gonna deflate the tires of the plane so that the plane doesn't take off again by secretly smuggling some policemen in a fuel tanker. The idea was a good one, but it is easier said than done. Almost an hour has passed now, and no refueling was initiated. The hijackers now get very frustrated. They order the captain to give up on the refueling and fly the plane. The captain says that if the plane is flown again, it will come crashing down. due to the lack of fuel, but the hijackers threaten to kill him. Under the extreme pressure, he prepares the plane to take off. The plane then takes off from Amritsar and is headed for Lahore. This was what everyone feared the most. The plane was still not refueled. The captain sends a final message to the Indian ATC. We are all dying. The distance from Amritsar to Lahore is quite short, at just 50 kilometers, which shouldn't be a problem for a plane to fly unless it has dangerously low levels of fuel, and the plane can come crashing down at any moment. The captain again urges the authorities of Lahore to let the plane land in Lahore, but their request is again denied. The authorities at Lahore realized that the hijackers would put pressure on the captain and land the plane in Lahore. And to prevent this, the lights at the Lahore International Airport were all switched off. The captain, being well experienced, tries to land the plane just visually. He lowers the plane down and is about to land on what seems to be the runway. He suddenly realizes that it wasn't the runway. It was a highway. In an instant, he pulls the throttle back to avoid the landing. He begs the Pakistani authorities to grant the permission for landing. This time, however, they agree and grant the permission. The plane then lands at the Lahore Allama Iqbal Airport at approximately 8 p.m. The Indian authorities requested the Pakistani authorities to prevent the plane from taking off again. The Indian authorities wanted to buy time and send the officials for negotiations. Apparently, the Pakistani authorities tried to negotiate with the hijackers, but it was all in vain. The hijackers' demands weren't fulfilled. Out of frustration, they attacked another passenger and killed him on the spot.